what if that really unsettling feeling, feeling watched, manipulated, maybe even pushed to question your own sanity? What if it wasn't just in your head, but like the result of an organized, maybe even nationwide network? Today on the deep dive, we're really going deep into something profoundly unsettling and honestly often misunderstood.
Yeah, we're talking about organized gang stalking.
Mm-hmm.
And in this deep dive, we're going to unpack what our main source describes as uh, harassment and discrediting campaigns waged against a targeted individual.
Mm.
You'll hear quite a few different names for it, too. Things like cause stalking, organized vigilante stalking, stalking by proxy, community-based harassment, and even covert war.
Right. And our mission here really is to navigate the detailed info we have from our primary source. It's an MP3 called Organized Gang Stalking, What You Need to Know.
Hmm.
And we're supplementing that with insights from authors, people like David Lawson, Dr. John Hall, and also, crucially, accounts from targeted individuals themselves. The goal is to really pull out the core insights into this incredibly complex and often dismissed experience to give you a clear picture of its alleged scope and tactics.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. What exactly is organized gang stalking, and how is it, fundamentally different from what most people think of when they hear the word stalking?
Well, at its core, the source defines it as a systemic form of control. And its aim, it seeks to destroy every aspect of a targeted individual's life. Now, the gang aspect, that's really key to understand. It does not mean street gangs.
Oh. No. Instead, the word gang here refers to multiple people who organize together for a common purpose.
Mm.
And that distinction is sharp when compared to individual stalking. The abuse you see is described as particularly invasive, precisely because the victim is not able to distinguish friend from foe.
Mm-hmm.
These perpetrators, they operate with anonymity, and they're, well, encouraged by the lack of repercussions.
That distinction alone is,
Oh.
wow, it's chilling. So if we're talking about this level of coordination, this kind of activity, is any of it even legal? It really sounds like it crosses lines.
Oh, absolutely not. The source is very clear. All forms of stalking and harassment are illegal, period. Stalking, just by definition, is a pattern of repeated and unwanted attention, harassment, contact, or any other course of conduct directed at a specific person that would cause a reasonable person to feel fear. It's against the law in every state, and there's federal law covering it if it crosses state lines. It involves repeated or continuing harassment, the kind that would make a reasonable person feel, terrorized, frightened, intimidated, threatened, harassed, or molested.
Mm-hmm.
And importantly, it actually causes the victim to feel that way.
Okay.
It can also involve things like intentionally following or harassing someone and making a credible threat that induces a reasonable fear of death or serious bodily harm.
Mm-hmm.
And harassment, well, that's defined as conduct directed toward a victim that includes, but is not limited to, repeated or continuing unconsented contact that would cause a reasonable individual to suffer emotional distress, and that actually causes the victim to suffer emotional distress.
Okay, so it's clearly illegal, flat out.
Well,
So what's the goal then? Why would these groups do this, and who are the players allegedly behind such a campaign?
Well, the express goal of organized gang stalking is,
Yeah.
it's quite devastating, really. The source lists things like to silence a victim, drive a victim insane and possibly to the point of suicide, or to destroy the victim's reputation and believability,
Believability, how?
because the person will likely be viewed as mentally ill should they complain or report the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It aims to cause the target to appear mentally unstable using advanced psychological harassment techniques.
Wow.
It's also reportedly used to gather information on individuals and sometimes to force individuals to move or leave an area.
That's a profoundly dark set of objectives. What could possibly motivate people to actually participate in something like this?
The source suggests the motivations for the abuse itself vary quite a bit. It could be revenge for a real or imagined offense, true or false accusations of a horrible crime, maybe silencing a corporate whistleblower or someone defecting from a cult. Or maybe the target is seen as a perceived enemy of a group or organization, or simply accused of knowing too much. And the source emphasizes that there's often an assumption of guilt among the stalkers. Plus, many are apparently paid, so they're not concerned with the innocence or guilt of a victim. Now, as for the stalkers themselves, they're described as, for the most part, everyday citizens.
Really, just ordinary people.
That's what the source says. But it also includes street thugs who have been recruited or hired, private investigators, and even members of volunteer police groups.
Mm-hmm.
And why do they participate? Well, again, various reasons are given. They might be told lies about the target, positive or negative lies. They might be paid or receive other benefits. Maybe they're just following orders or repaying a past favor. Other motivations listed include things like racism, prejudice, anti-Semitism, homophobia, or otherwise hatred of a victim. Just pure peer pressure and need to fit in. Sometimes fear of becoming the next target.
Sure.
Or even just the entertainment value thrill of participation in an illegal activity, or perhaps misguidedly believing it is their civil duty, and who is ultimately behind gang stalking. The source points to a wide range: corporations, government organizations, military, secret societies, fraternities, orders, religious cults, and destructive New Age groups, concerned community groups, vigilante groups, criminal organizations, volunteer police organizations.
Got quite a list.
It is. And David Lawson, who wrote Terrorist Stalking in America, he highlights a common ruse these groups supposedly use. They pose as a citizens group which assists the police. And this illusion is apparently reinforced by case files they carry, which are complete with photos of the target.
Wow, like props almost.
Yeah. And the recruitment strategy itself. It's described as a combination of lies and intimidation. Many participants, it's reported, are actually cooperating out of fear and have been given a gag order. The source characterizes the whole thing as a kind of legal mafia-style criminal network that operates outside of the law and has little accountability.
It's genuinely astonishing to think such a network could operate within society like that.
So, okay, once a target is identified, the purpose is set. How do these complex operations actually play out day to day? The sources, they detail this incredible array of tactics.
They really do. The source describes an incredibly covert and sophisticated system. It operates with real-time coordination. It alleges that hundreds, maybe even thousands of individuals participate as a coordinated mob, and they do this while just going about their normal routines, working, shopping, commuting.
Oh.
They apparently utilize moving foot and vehicular surveillance techniques and things like computers, cell phones, verbal and visual cues, and every other conceivable type of communication. And this network, it's alleged, can be national and international.
Now, the specific tactics, they're numerous and often quite insidious. They seem designed to subtly dismantle a person's life and, well, their sanity. One major category seems to involve psychological manipulation and discrediting. This is where they really aim to make the victim question their own perception or just be dismissed by others. A prime example is gaslighting. That's a psychological technique used to make a victim question his or her sanity.
Right, like the movie.
Exactly. The term actually originates from that 1944 film, Gaslight. So if you mention organized gang stalking to someone involved and they turn around and tell you you're crazy or paranoid, well, that's textbook gaslighting, according to the source.
Okay.
Another really disturbing tactic mentioned is the use of corrupt doctor diagnosis. The aim here is apparently stamping victims as bogus, mentally ill with delusions, paranoid, or schizophrenia. This then leads to mental health evaluations if they try to complain about the harassment.
Oh, that's terrible.
It is. Dr. John Hall, for instance, reported facing what he called the standard white code bogus diagnoses of probable delusional disorder and ordered psychiatric treatment that whistleblowers consistently report. And the source notes grimly that this is why victims are far more likely to commit suicide.
That's absolutely chilling. So it's not just discrediting them to others, it's actively trying to make the victim doubt their own reality. What does the source say about the psychological toll of that specifically?
Well, you can imagine it creates immense psychological trauma. Another key tactic under this umbrella is something called intimate infiltration. This is where members apparently go out of their way to get into a target's life. They might form friendships, even intimate relationships with the target or people close to them. Sometimes years before the target ever realizes they are targets.
Years.
Yeah. And this allows for profound betrayal, obviously.
Yeah.
But also gives them incredible access for profiling. Targets are observed and profiled long before they are aware. Information is gathered through surveillance, sometimes home invasions, hacking computers, even interrogating friends and family. All to identify weaknesses, likes, dislikes. Basically, figure out how they can be controlled, bribed, or maybe even blackmailed.
Altered grief.
And the source outlines many more tactics, too, like blatant slander and character assassination, through smear campaigns, and even something called ghosting.
Ghosting. Like dating. Ghosting.
No, different kind. This involves subtly moving items in a victim's home or office furniture, lawn decorations, desk items, just enough to make them feel disoriented and question their memory or sanity. And all of this, ultimately, contributes to profound isolation, destroying support systems and leaving victims feeling completely alone. Beyond undermining credibility, these campaigns also seem to launch a relentless kind of environmental and sensory assault. It seems designed to keep the victim in a constant state of fear, confusion, using everyday elements as weapons.
Can you give an example of that? It sounds incredibly insidious using the everyday like that.
Absolutely. Sensitization is described as a core technique here. And this isn't just random annoyance. It's portrayed as deliberate psychological conditioning. They force an association between a stimulus, often something really mundane, and a negative reaction. Examples given are things like red stripes, pens, whistles, loud coughing, clapping, waves, keys,
It's
jingling.
just everyday things.
Exactly. Things you see or hear all the time. But the repeated, orchestrated use undoubtedly creates an extreme level of fear in the victim. And the source suggests is based on a concept called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, which studies how language and cues influence thoughts, but used here, obviously, in a destructive way.
Right. Weaponized NLP.
Sort of, yeah. Another common method described as a noise harassment campaign. This is an orchestrated effort using things like loud vehicles, loud mufflers, door slamming above you and below you, garbage disposal, loud stereos stopping at specific times, loud coughing, pot slamming, water running, cupboard doors being slammed, fridge running all night, power tools.
This constant disruption.
Constant disruption aimed to cause stress, lose sleep, agitation, and the long-term effects of prolonged stress. Targeted individuals report specific things like horns, fire truck, and ambulance sirens and alarms going off repeatedly, or ongoing noise harassment campaign construction near their homes. This also extends to something called street theater.
Street theater.
Yeah, it involves odd actions and behaviors by stalkers or even neighbors in an attempt to rile the victim. It's meant to blur the boundaries between reality and fantasy. It could be something minor as public rudeness or a full-on show or production. It often involves other tactics we've mentioned, like directed conversation.
What's that?
That's where maybe two or more stalkers have a conversation near the target, deliberately loud enough for them to hear, and they insert personal information concerning the victim.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the goal is to harass, make the victim feel exposed, and again, make them appear mentally unstable if they react or report it. Like the example given is, it's a shame Uncle Ed won't be able to come. Yes, since he died golfing on Saturday, if the target's Uncle Ed did just die golfing.
That's incredibly specific and cruel.
It is. And then there's the final broad category, surveillance and physical control, which really underscores the pervasive nature of these alleged operations.
Given everything we've heard, I mean, the surveillance must be incredibly extensive to pull any of this off.
It's described as 247 tracking.
Yeah.
Victims are reportedly followed around 2047 by the various communities that they are in. And if a target travels, the local network will follow the target to the next city or town, where the network there apparently takes over.
A handoff system.
Seems like it. This includes extensive illegal surveillance, things like bugging the target's phone, surveillance in the target's residence, listening to cell phone and hardline conversations, hacking into their computers, all used to build that profile and launch psychological attacks.
Okay.
And even more alarming, the sources describe electronic harassment. This involves using devices to spy on or cause harm. For instance, it's mentioned that exposure to a high magnetic field has been shown to induce hallucinations, and that intense microwave radiation induces psychotic episodes and causes brain damage.
Are they saying this is actually being used?
The sources allege it. They talk about beaming a low-frequency hum or tone into a victim's home, that electromagnetic weapons and frequencies will be used on a target on their homes for things like monitoring, tracking, sleep disturbance, or even as punishment. The source even notes that the Michigan legislature acknowledges the existence of harmful electromagnetic devices. That's quite a claim. It is. Other physical tactics mentioned include various vehicle tactics, aggressive following, tailgating, driving or creeping by the target's home, even convoys of same color or similar vehicles passing repeatedly.
Right.
In public spaces, there's crowding and mobbing. Groups will allegedly box the target in or surround the target in a square-like formation, stand too close, or simply swarm them. David Lawson notes that swarming involves totally surrounding a target so he cannot move. It's essentially group bullying. And the goal with all these synchronized harassment activities, like neighbors leaving at the exact same time as the target over and over, is that if the target complains, he or she may be perceived as mentally ill.
Making the complaint itself seem paranoid?
Exactly. And lastly, the source details baiting or entrapment. This involves luring a victim into situations designed to cause problems. This could even mean tricking a victim into committing a crime or unknowingly engaging in an illegal activity. The goal might be getting targets arrested, institutionalized, set up on fake sexual harassment charges, drug charges, illegal pornographic materials. It also puts them at risk for entrapment into becoming members themselves.
That is. It's an incredibly comprehensive, almost overwhelming picture of the tactics involved.
Yeah.
Given this kind of relentless assault, what's the ultimate cumulative effect on someone, on their mental state? And why is it apparently so incredibly difficult for them to get any kind of help?
Well, the core issue, according to the source, is that the covert methods used to harass, persecute, and falsely defame the targets often leave no evidence to incriminate these civilian spies. One targeted individual described it like this: "It's almost like bad acting. Occasionally, you'll even see other patrons looking over at them with an expression of what's wrong with those people. Weird, but not provably malicious in isolation."
Right, plausible deniability built in.
Exactly. And the intent of these campaigns, fundamentally, is to cause great psychological trauma. They're specifically designed, the source says, to elicit an angry response from targets. And that response, well, it can then be used as evidence against the victim, especially in attempts to suggest the victim is mentally unstable.
It's a vicious cycle.
It seems so.
Hmm.
Jonathan, another targeted individual quoted, said, "They've performed all manner of hoaxes and tricks in attempt to freak me out and have me make outlandish reports to the police and have me diagnosed as mentally ill."
Mm-hmm.
And he reported receiving absolutely no response from authorities. Why? Because, as he points out, many mentally ill people make very similar claims, and the perpetrators know this and exploit it to avoid investigation.
Exploiting the system's limitations.
Precisely. And compounding this is the allegation that law enforcement, even neighbors, are sometimes cooperating, if not overtly colluding, making it impossible to enlist their assistance. David Lawson also adds that people in the community who don't cooperate can themselves become targets, facing harassment of their families and damage to their homes and vehicles.
Wow, so there's coercion involved too.
That's what's suggested. And through all this, the source material really emphasizes that the majority of organized gang stalking victims are completely innocent of any crimes, and that any group performing this kind of activity is not positive in nature nor beneficial to society.
So just to sum up then, what we've really unpacked today is this concept of organized gang stalking as a highly coordinated, multifaceted campaign. It's harassment, it's psychological warfare, and it seems meticulously designed to destroy a target's life while, at the same time, making them appear mentally unstable.
Exactly. And the profound difficulty for anyone targeted lies precisely in that covert nature of the attacks, the alleged involvement of, seemingly everyday citizens, and this deliberate strategy to discredit victims using tactics like fake diagnoses and gaslighting. It seems to create this reality where the abuse itself actually prevents any effective recourse or help.
So for you, the listener, we want to leave you with this to consider. What does it mean? What does it mean for our understanding of community, of surveillance, even of mental health when these extraordinary claims of coordinated covert harassment are so consistently reported and documented by those who say they experienced them, especially when the very nature of the alleged abuse seems designed from the ground up to discredit its victims? Maybe reflect on the societal implications if such hidden networks truly exist.